Welcome back to A Better Choice Homestead and this week's edition of Freeze Dry Friday. Today is going to be a brand new recipe, one that I have come up with just for freeze drying, although if I do say so myself, it is absolutely lovely for fresh eating as well. You probably just want to make one tweak in the final cooking process, and I'll talk you through that when I show you how I made this. But we're going to start over at the freeze dryer and get those settings confirmed and get it started. Now this is another recipe with beans, so we're going to set it for a bean setting, which is -10 initial freeze, 0 extra freeze time. They've been in the freezer now for 24 hours on a pre-freeze. Dry temp of 120, and I'm going to leave my settings at 15 hours. I might bump that up at the end. The trays are pretty dense, but we'll see. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. Get the door closed. And then press start. And now we need to wait at least 15 minutes before we load the trays, so let me show you the recipe. To start, we need to rinse the beans. I'm using 2 pounds of small red kidney beans here, and I'm just rinsing them really well in a colander and then getting them into a pot filled with water, and we are going to soak them overnight. The next day we come back and we drain them, and we want to rinse them really well. They can be covered with dirt and debris, and they can also have little stones in them. So you just want to make sure that everything is nice and clean. I'm cleaning out the pot that I used to soak them in because that's the pot I'm going to use to cook them in as well. We're going to get 4 cups of broth over them, and then I'm putting in an additional 2 cups of water. And here I'm just skimming the top. There is just a lot of scum and dirt and stuff in here that I don't want in the finished product. So I do this as it fills with water, and you can see I've taken out a bunch of specks, and on top of that, as it continues to boil, more scum comes to the top, and I am just getting that lifted off as well. And we're going to boil that for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, stirring occasionally. We just want to make sure that there's water in here and that they're not burning on the bottom. And as that's cooking, I'm going to be prepping all of the vegetables. I love bell peppers. I don't necessarily like the green ones too much, so you can use whatever you'd like. I'm using the red, the yellow, and the orange. I've got 4 bell peppers. I think I put in my recipe to use 3, but I had the extra one, so I went ahead and threw it in here as well. And I've got 3 medium large onions here that I'm also dicing down. And we're just making all the pieces about the same size as we're chopping. And so same with the celery, I'm cutting it once down the long side and then getting them diced down. And if they're thicker pieces, I'm cutting them more than once down the long side. And again, we're just looking for uniform pieces all across. This does take a little bit of time to get everything chopped, which is why it's a good idea to do it while your beans are cooking. And now we're just going to set all of that aside. That's going to go into the pot at the same time. So I'm just putting it into one large bowl, and then I can get to work chopping my garlic. You can mince your garlic. I wanted to leave mine a little bit bigger of pieces, so I'm just running my knife through them really well, crossways, up and down, sideways, just to get them into small pieces, but not necessarily a fine mince. And then we have some turkey sausage here. I'm using smoked sausage and kielbasa. And I start by cutting them into half moons, and I do that by slicing the sausage in half and then just slicing it in rounds, which end up being half moons. But you'll see I do change my mind, and after I cook this first batch, I go back and I chop them down because I just felt like that it would be too long of a rehydration process if they were this size. So I actually quartered them instead of just dicing them. And this is about 4 pounds of turkey kielbasa or sausage. And it does have a really good flavor in here. It worked really, really well. I'm very, very pleased with how that came out. And then we can go ahead and we can get that set aside. And now we need to start cooking our rice. It's 4 cups of rice, to 4 cups of broth, but I went ahead and threw in an extra 2 cups of water. You don't need to. I just knew it wouldn't hurt anything, and I wanted to make sure I got all the broth flavor off the bottom of that jar. And now we're going to brown our sausage here. I poured in a 1/4 cup of cooking wine into the bottom of the pan because I didn't want to use oil. And we are just going to add some flavor to these. So the cooking is going to add flavor, the wine is going to add flavor. So I'm cooking them until basically the liquid is gone off the bottom of the pan. And I'm also going to be adding some red pepper flake. That is optional. I prefer heat in mine, and so I add red pepper flake. And once that first batch, the liquid has all cooked off, you can see on the bottom there, we're going to have to deglaze that, but that's when I pull this batch out and start chopping it down. Now I'm adding another 1/4 cup of the cooking wine, deglazing the pan, and adding the rest of the sausage, and we're going to get that cooked up. That probably takes about 10 minutes or so per batch. I didn't want to overcrowd it in here. I wanted the sausage to really develop some good flavor. Popping a recipe card up here if you want to take a screenshot of that. Although I am really hoping that by this time next week, I will have a website up where you can go get my recipes as well. I've been working on that very diligently. So as you can see, these pieces are smaller because I did chop them down into the quarter. I quartered them versus halving them, which I think it worked out better. Now I'm adding another 1/2 cup of the cooking liquid, and in go the vegetables, and I mix them up, and I actually decide that I want to have some spicy peppers in here too, and I still have some jalapenos that I prepped last summer and put in the freezer, so those are going in frozen, and they'll defrost here pretty quickly, just getting everything mixed together over the heat. And then we're going to let those kind of sweat and cook out in the wine, stirring occasionally just to make sure that everything develops really good flavor. In goes the garlic, now that these have started to get, the onions have started to get translucent. And we just continue mixing. And then I'm adding tomato powder. So tomato powder mixed with water makes tomato paste. That was, of course, freeze-dried tomatoes, and that adds really good flavor. And here is the spices that I put in. I made my own homemade Cajun seasoning mix, and it is potent. There's a lot of smoked paprika in there, but it is wonderful. And then in go those beans. So they cooked for about 2 hours total. There's a little bit of liquid left at the bottom of the pot. I actually added just a little bit more water as it was cooking because it was getting pretty low and I didn't want the bottom to scorch. So you'll see that there's some reserved cooking liquid left over at the end. And then in goes the meat. Everything gets a really good mix through. And then I'm adding another 4 cups or 1 quart of broth. And I actually use turkey broth in this. Now I've pulled out 2 cups of beans, and I'm going to add that rest of the reserved cooking liquid because we're going to make kind of a paste, and this is going to act as a thickener in the dish. So just mashing it up in a bowl really quick. You can do it in a food processor or a high-speed blender. This was just easy. And then that's going to go into the pot. Going to get that all stirred around, and we're going to heat this and let it cook for, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, just to get all the flavors melded together. The beans are nice and soft. In goes the 4 cups of rice, and we get that all mixed together. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's still a lot of liquid in this pot. Now, if you were going to eat this fresh, this is how you would eat it. But because it's going into the freeze dryer, I wanted to eliminate a lot of that liquid. So I cooked it for another 5 minutes or so with the lid off. And then it was ready to go onto the freeze dryer trays. I loaded these up pretty thick, pretty heavy, but that's kind of how I do things sometimes, and it seems to have come out just great. So we have a lot of red beans and rice with turkey sausage, and it looks and it tastes delicious. You can see that there's just a little bit left over that fed us for 2 nights. And that brings us to now. So I gotta tell you that these came out so good. Absolutely delicious. It smells really good as well. I'm so pleased with this recipe. This is a keeper. Let's get it started. Tray 2 also nice and full. Tray 3, and tray 4. Close the drain valve and press continue. And we'll be back when the time has run down and we're ready to check it. We are 51.5 hours in, and I'm hoping this is done. I did put 4 extra hours on here today, just because the trays were so dense. So that brought us up to, we're almost at a total of what, 19, almost 19 hours. So let's go ahead and open the drain valve so we can check for dryness. There is quite a bit of ice buildup in here, about 1/2 inch. So we're definitely gonna need a longer defrost cycle on this. Here's what our trays look like. And they definitely feel dry. So I think we're good. It smells really good too. Let's go package these. Clearly, we're pleased with how this came out for the original eat, the fresh eating. I'm so glad that we had enough extra to make a couple of meals with, and hopefully they will come out just as good freeze-dried. I have a little bit of some turkey stock here that I had made, and I'm gonna just heat that up, and we're gonna use that to reconstitute some of this, or rehydrate. I might even just rehydrate it right here in this pan with the lid. And most of this is gonna go into 1-gallon storage bags because that's all I have. I'm out of quart, but I do have them on order. So when they come in, I might repackage these. I'm hoping that 1 bag will hold 1 tray full worth, but I am gonna set just a little bit aside for the rehydration. Now, I didn't do the weigh on these before, so I'm not gonna be able to use my per serving rehydration calculation. Got to get better at using that just to get familiar with it. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball what I think I can rehydrate based on how much liquid I have. Well, that's a lot though. It's almost 8 o'clock at night. I've already had dinner, so we're just gonna do a little. That's still quite a bit, but we'll set that aside. And then the rest, we're just gonna get loaded into bags. I've already labeled them freeze-dried red beans and rice with turkey sausage, and this is June of 2025. I am gonna break these up a bit in pieces, probably 4, and I'm gonna put them smooth side out, hoping that that helps with the pressure on the bags. Let me see if I can load them in this way. Oh, they are gonna break a little. Because the beans and the rice, you know, everything is so dry that it can, they won't load that way. They can, you know, poke against the bags, and we don't wanna puncture the bags. That fits nicely, perfectly fine. Just gonna scoop the rest of that up and toss it in. The flavor of this is really smoky. I used a lot of that paprika in my homemade Cajun spice recipe. So if you're not big on a heavy smoky flavor, I would go lighter on that. It's not spicy hot though. All right, we've got that zipped almost all the way through, and we'll get an oxygen absorber in there as soon as we're done loading the other bags. And this is boiling. So let's go ahead and get this started rehydrating. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to pour some in. We're going to let it sit. I don't want it soupy, but I do want liquid in the end product. So when I boiled it down the first time, I boiled it so all the liquid came out, and that was on purpose because, well, it didn't all come out. It all got absorbed for the flavor. And because we were freeze drying. So we'll see if that's enough liquid. We'll just set that aside for a minute. But to eat it, you know, it's not supposed to be like, you know, mashed potatoes or rice. It's supposed to be a little bit soupy. This is such a healthy, very nutritious, filling, protein-packed meal that will be nice to have in the case of an emergency or later in life. You know, when your funds are not what they are currently, food is more expensive. You want to make sure that you have healthy options available to you. And that sausage came out really good in here. You know, normally you would use like an andouille sausage, but the turkey sausage that I use had, I think, 6 grams of fat per package versus the 20-something grams of fat per package for the other types of more regular sausage. And that bag is very full as well. I mean, I can't even tell you how many servings I think this is. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe even 10. This might be 40 servings. Once we get our smaller bags. I don't even know that I'm out of bags. I think I have more. I just don't know where I put them. I have got to do some serious decluttering and organizing here. Let's see how one of those sausages taste dry. That's really good. That's actually really good. Couldn't eat too much of it because it would dry your mouth out, but the taste and the crunch is nice. Has a lot more room in the bag, so this I think is a denser tray. I might redistribute some of this before we put the oxygen absorbers in. Really good flavor on that meat. Tastes good. And we have more room in this bag as well. So, but we have the most room in this bag. I'm gonna take a little bit out of the other two because they're packed pretty full and put it in these two. This one doesn't need a lot taken out. Just want to make sure that they'll close comfortably. Well, this one does close comfortably as well. I think we're good. So we can go ahead and get the oxygen absorbers in. We need 4. And then we can do a double seal on each of these bags. That's going to go above the tear notches. One. Two. Three. And 4. How easy was that? I think this is 40 meals ready to eat. All right, let's check this. It's only been the couple minutes that it took to load up those bags. That does look like a good amount of liquid in here, so it's a little bit saucy. This looks fantastic. The meat is still hard. So that needs more time. Yeah, that's still not done yet. So we'll give it about 5 minutes and test it again. All right, let's check this again. It's been about 5 more minutes. Oh, it's softening, definitely softening, but the meat is not tender yet, but it is softer. I can easily get the fork through it, you know, with a little push. So we're not quite there yet. I think we have plenty of liquid in here though. So try 5 more minutes. And while we're waiting, how have you fared through this heat wave? My goodness, here in central New York, we got up to 99 on one day. We were at 97 the other days, and the heat index, it was like, you know, feels like well over 100. Luckily, the humidity wasn't too bad, so while it was hot outside, it was bearable. I got a lot of color. I was outside a lot, getting gardening chores done and pool chores done, and I kind of overdid it. I was out there, I think, on Tuesday. I think I was out there for 6 hours, and yeah, I kept having to come inside and get some water because, boy, that heat will just zap you. Much hotter here than a normal summer. And I know that that was across the United States. Have you seen this map of what the prediction was for this week? It looks like nobody in the United States was spared from this heat wave. What was it like where you are? All right, 5 more minutes. Let's see where we're at the 10-minute mark. Almost there. Almost. That one's definitely ready. but not all of them are that soft. This one's still a little hard. That one's a little hard too. So I think 5 more minutes and we should be good to go. So that would be a total of 15 minutes for rehydration. It's just going to take as long as it takes. Let's take another look. I added just a tiny bit more hot liquid in here just to see if that would help. And it looks like we are pretty soft now. No, we've still got some more softening to do, especially on the end pieces. There's one in here that has a lot of the skin on it. This one right here, because it was part of the end piece. This one seems the hardest right now. So you might want to snip the ends off of the sausage unless you're willing to wait a while to get this rehydrated, because that is still pretty tough. Let's see. This one's nice and soft. This one's nice and soft. Let's give it a try. Let's see if the rice is done. I mean, certainly you could let it go longer, but let's see how this tastes rehydrated. All right, let's give it a taste. Let's try the rice. Wow, that rehydrated beautifully. The flavor is there. Man, I'm telling you, this is good. Let's get some beans our next bite. Fully rehydrated beautifully. I had some pepper in that, bell pepper in that one as well. Very tasty, so good. And now let's try some of the meat. Got a little bit of the sausage on there, and I'll get some rice too. Man, this is good. Again, it's heavy on the smoke flavor because of the smoked paprika. So again, just use your taste buds to guide you on seasoning, because seasonings are always to taste. I think this is delicious. One piece of sausage in there wasn't quite fully rehydrated, but super tasty. This is amazing. That piece of sausage was perfect. So there you have it. A new freeze-dry recipe for red beans and rice with turkey sausage. Low fat and absolutely delicious. And we made a ton. So one batch made about 40 servings. You could have over a month's worth of lunches or dinners in your pantry by making this recipe one time. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Freeze Dry Friday, where I'm introducing a from-scratch new recipe for emergency preparedness or future enjoyment. My name is Kelly, you're at A Better Choice Homestead, and I do hope you come back and visit again soon.